everyone across the board, whether it be Christians, atheists, Muslims, right, etc., actually see that like he's really not wanting to answer the question there because he doesn't want to be associated with Christianity for some reason.
And Danny, I mean, you were the smart ass in the room, according to Jordan. What's been your reaction to the fallout?
I'm generally happy that people can see the frustration that we have with Peterson. I would say that atheists are not the only ones that are frustrated. Christians are, right? Here we have Peterson saying things like, yeah, I think Jesus might have resurrected, but I don't know what that means. I might be a Christian in some sense. I'm a one-of-a-kind Christian. It's all wishy-washy. We're all frustrated, and I think that the video is the culmination of that frustration.
Okay, well, the good news, like I told you, is we found two far from shy Christians to take you on in this arena. Andrew Wilson, let me start.
So EA says for $5, Halo 2 is a legendary all skulls on stream win. Bro, I haven't played Halo since 2008, man. That was the last time I played Halo. I don't even remember what I was doing or which Halo it was. What was out in 2008 on Xbox? Eba, right? As the black men call it. I remember my friend that passed away, we were laughing at the time because I think there was a clip of Little John, I think. Little John was playing Xbox and he called it his Eba. EHBOH, Eba. So if you're playing against Little John, you're not playing the Xbox, you're playing Eba. So to answer your question, when I find my Eba, that's when we're going to play Halo. We'll have a Halo stream when I find my Eba. Nectarios Coraliza, $5. Which Clement in the early centuries is a heretic and why? Clement of Alexandria has a unorthodox view of the triad. Clement believes that the Father is unknowable, and so he confuses the essence with the Father, and was pretty much just a Neoplatonist. So in the Orthodox Church, Clement is not a saint. I'm not sure that he's officially declared a heretic. It could be, and I'm just not aware of exactly where, but he is a patristic writer, but he's not a saint for us. But the reason I said his Trinitarian views are heterodox, and that comes up explicitly if you want to know the full details. I think Lofsky covers it in one of his books, but it's also covered by Radagowitz in his thesis on Basil and the Cappadocians. Droning in the scenery, $2. Big Gay Danny, don't you like his hat? Big Gay Danny, his hat? He just got a little swoop. I don't know. It's not really a hat. But look, these boys is just low T, man. And they've been brainwashed by the ridiculousness that we were all raised in. So these are products of the dystopia right here. These are internet babies, products of the dystopia. They believe all the propaganda perfectly. 5 sends $5. Here's 5 for the offended cannibals. Yes, I'm so offended. I can't believe they would call me a cannibal because of the Eucharist, even though in the Orthodox Church it's called the bloodless noetic offering. Disaster Chief, $5. My brother is a Destiny foot soldier. I tried to get him to interact with you and your content. He says he won't because Alex Voldemort is bad. Well, if that's his reasoning, then you're not really dealing with a person that's going to listen to reason anyway. So you're probably not going to convince him with any logic or argumentation. Now, since you've been on debating on whatever, and Piers Morgan, you're on his radar. He is engaging with, and he's losing to the tag debates. Keep pushing. Well, thank you, Disaster Chief. That's actually good news. That super chat went in a good direction. Nathan Slippy, $5. My mom had one of those, like wet itself babies. It said the baby would go, uh-oh, all dirty. It was in the attic. She got it out and pulled the string, and it went, uh-oh, all bitchy. That's weird, dude. That's kind of demonic. I'm starting to believe the Annabelle story now. It sounds like an Annabelle story. All right, let's get past this Peterson part, or towards the end of it, because this just doesn't really go anywhere except that everybody's like, yep, Jordan Peterson is just a Jungian. So that's about all that is accomplished here. Then it gets into Skittles month. Let's see where this goes.
funding. It was pumped full of corporate money. There was an article that came out, you can find in the Drudge Report, came out today from, I believe it was Daily Telegram. It's pretty interesting. They went over, a lot of the modern Trump administration and what they have done with their executive orders. A lot of companies have begun moving away from trying to fund this, and it hasn't been popular for the last couple of years anyway. There's been a lot.
By the way, if Lord Voldemort is bad, how is Destiny good? This is the weird ethics and morals of these people. It's just totally contradictory. It's literally whatever they want at that moment is good. So who cares if, I can't even say the stuff that Destiny's into. It's so gross. You don't want me to repeat what it is. You know what I mean? But that's good. But if Lord Voldemort questions a big event, that's bad. Right. So these people are just out to lunch, dude.
Pushback on various large corporations, companies, and NGOs for trying to pump artificially these organizations. One of the things that article points out, which I tend to agree with, is that, hey, look, ultimately, when these companies are doing this, people lose trust for them. You remember there was a big thing with Target not that long ago. Anytime this comes to light, there's actually a backlash. People can kind of see that it's artificially held up. There's no reason for it. It's silly. It has never really been about gay rights. Because it's always really been
for it, right? They're bullies like you.
Do you want me to answer?
Right?
Do you want me to answer the question or no?
Yeah, you can go ahead, and I'll explain to you why I think there's a reason after.
Okay. Yeah.
So immediately goes to victim status, right? This is what all these people do, which is actually, if you guys remember the Dark Triad Traits and Virtuous Victimhood paper, this is a sign of psychopathy. It's nothing to do with actual victim status, and it's actually damaging to people who are real victims, right? When you get these narcissistic, psychopathic type people who want to be victims to gain attention points and sympathy points and virtue points in a society that values equalitarianism, feelies, right, security, right, all of the feminine virtues or feminine qualities that become the social qualities in a democracy, so-called, or an egalitarian society. That type of society exalts those traits or qualities. And what happens, as that paper argues, is that people like this, who are very cunning, narcissistic, psychopathic, the real dark triad traits, they capitalize on that to gain power, attention, status, money, etc. in that type of a society. And that's why the left and the woke people have had so much power, is through the myth of the society that we live in, that equalitarianism, fairness, all these things are the highest virtues, as if they're even virtues, as if they're even true. But the cathedral lies are cracking, right? It was Royce that talked about the cathedral. That's a great analogy. So we live in this cathedral, this religious narrative of democracy, egalitarianism, woke, Skittles, all that. That cathedral religion is collapsing. And what better example that it's collapsing than this? This was a key example, a key piece of data in the long trail of radical left woke collapsing. You can see it in live time in just this one spot. I'm not saying that me and Andrew took down the totality of the web. I'm just saying this is a great example of this ideology beginning to just go away. Thank God. Now, there's going to be battles and there's going to be hold-ons. It's going to keep rearing its head. But what became evident was that this is an irrational cult that is not committed to reason, not committed to anything that they can ground their positions in, only personal subjective preferences and tastes and feeling, emotion. That's ultimately what they end up saying determines good words versus bad words, is just how it makes them feel. And then admitting that it doesn't matter if my view hurts Christians, if it offends other people, all that matters is how I feel. So total, just the world revolves around me, narcissism. And they basically admit that. And I think what comes to the fore here is that As I said, none of this has anything to do with actually, through any kind of logic or argumentation, proving their position. It's literally just, I will do anything to defend pee-pee poo-poo. My life and my identity has to do with anuses, has to do with poop.
There's no real reason for it. It's been about pushing sexual perversions, never really been about anything to do with homosexuals themselves not having rights or having rights. It's never been about that. It's been about weird gay pride parades and all kinds of weird sexual stuff. It really has never been about that. And that's what the American people think. That's what they see. That's why you see companies moving away from it.
No, I don't think that's true. Look, they're
He doesn't think that's true. Okay, on what basis? I mean, literally everything that Andrew said is actually just true. Like, there was huge backlash on all of these companies. Everyone knows this, right? Whether it's Target, whether it's Bud Light with the trans, whether it's Gillette. I mean, there's massive Disney stock loss that occurs after this stuff. And the companies don't care. They keep pushing it. They keep charging forward, which shows you that it's an agenda and that it's not even about the monetary bottom line. It's not even about the profit margin. It's literally an agenda.
gay people, like let's take you for example. You're the reason, right? When I first talked to you, right, we were having a normal debate about, I think, morality, and then you randomly asked me, are you a homosexual?
Yeah, because in this situation, when it comes to these types of vices, there might be a motivation as to why you're obsessively committed to this vice, right? That motivates you to defend it so ardently, even though your defense makes no sense, completely irrational. If you have this vice, it's the same methodology that you see when people who are addicted to some other thing, drugs or whatever, the way they go to extreme lengths to explain that, no, there's nothing wrong, it's absolutely normal. It's the exact same thing that every vice does, right? Is to try to normalize it, and everyone else gets the blame. Society gets the blame because that person is transferring their guilt or their conscience on everyone else. It's the same with fat acceptance. Remember when they were pushing fat acceptance so heavily? And the whole movement was about how society is the problem for making fat people feel bad. Well, maybe it's your conscience telling you that gluttony is not good for you and even your body. And so the normal actions of conscience are those things are foisted upon everyone else, and everyone else has to conform to 0.05% of the population's weird perversion. That's what ends up happening. And that's why it's a slippery slope. So we just want people to put pee-pee in poo. That's all. We're not coming for your kids. And then 10 years later, we're coming for your children. Remember the gay choir? Slippery slope.
Right? And then
right.
also with...
But hang on, was I right though? Was I right?
I'm not homosexual. No, I'm married to a woman.
You were bisexual. You were bisexual.
Right.
That's homosexual.
Is not the same as bisexual.
There's certain...
You put your pee-pee in a man's poo-poo, you're gay as hell, dude. That's just the facts. What are you talking about? What do you mean I don't have a degree, though? I do have a degree. I have an undergraduate degree, and I have a master's degree that is all but thesis, ABT. So this is all that the atheists have, is to come into the chat and to make fun of my, to try to call me out not having a degree. But I do have a degree. So what are you talking about? I didn't finish my master's thesis, hence ABT, all but thesis. That's what that means. So yeah, this always happens. The internet starts getting slow around this time, and it's probably because everybody's home from work and using the internet on my block. So, and you'll notice, just like the atheists in the chat here, these atheists, all they have is personal attacks because it's the last refuge when you have nothing to argue. And by the way, even if I never if I never went to college, that would have nothing to do with whether my arguments are good or bad. What does that have to do with anything?
People like you and Dyer bully LGBTQ.
So, what did he go to? Bullying gay people. When did this happen? He's talking about me booting him from the Discord debate 3 years ago because of his dumbass arguments, and he couldn't even understand the argument I was making. So he lied and turned it into that I booted him because he's gay. I have no idea who you are, dude. You think I have a dossier on every random voice that starts talking on Discord? All the mods send me the dossier. Oh, this is Danny. He's gay. Let's bully him. Dude, I have no idea who you are. How would I have known who you were 3 years ago? And then the second time when you come back with a voice changer, and what? So I'm bullying. So it's pure narcissism. This is a tactic. People need to get past and understand that you're not dealing with people who are interested in a serious debate. You're dealing with people who have all of the traits of narcissistic psychopathy and maliciousness. I don't know why the internet's being so slow. Let's see if we can. Nick RB, $10. They think that calling God a subject is a gotcha, but they didn't overlook that God is an infinite being and is by nature an objective reality. Therefore, his morality wouldn't be subjective. Yeah, I mean, you would have to kind of go, if that's the line of argument that they're saying is that, well, wait a minute, if you're trying to ground your ethics in God, he's a subject, then it's still subjective. Yeah, but God is not a being like creatures are beings, right? God is an uncreated being, and so his absolute personhood would be the determining factor for the morals and the ethics, thus making it objective. Me being a finite, limited creature means that I cannot be, by definition, a source of any kind of objective, absolutist ethic. So exactly correct, Nick. Charlie Kirk, smile, $5. You're the best debater by far. You need to make it so that normies understand your knowledge. Well, there's just not any way to do that, though, right? Because it'd be like saying to the people who do a symphony, if you're a classically trained musician and, it's like saying to the classically trained musician, you need to convince people that listen to, pop music, Katy Perry, whatever, that classical music is superior. Good luck with that, right? Man, I don't know why this is being so ridiculous. It's never been this bad, internet-wise. I'm not making any sense. What are you talking about? How am I? Oh, Jam is not making any sense. Jam is saying some weird stuff here. Jam says for $5, is on feach of our preservers created reality we react to. I just don't even know what you mean. This happens through preservation. We preserve reality to find truth. This is some word salad, dog. G26, $5. Dave Chappelle had a Lil Jon skit. It's a classic. It was hilarious. What about the Tamagotchi animals from the 90s? Well, that was a 90s trend. And if you watch the Kyle Mooney movie, Y2K, they brought up those. I think he brings them up, or he brings them up in one of his skits. Jordan Lofgren, $5. It's the spiritual issues that are so strong that it affects their ability to reason. Yeah, vices cloud your reasoning faculty. A lot of saints have made this point. That's correct. Tony Vosi, $10. Do you ever question Yahweh being Satan? 1 Chronicles 21 and 2 Samuel 24. Now, it just says that God permitted the punishment to be that those people are given over to evil. Just like when it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart, if you look at the other verse in Exodus, it explains how that was done by letting Pharaoh have Satan in his heart, right? So Pharaoh wanted to be evil, and God gave him up to his desires. Just like in 2 Thessalonians, it says that the people who do not love the truth will be given over to a lie. So the principle that's in 2 Thessalonians about being given over to a lie is the exact same principle in 1 Chronicles 21 and 2 Samuel 24. It is not equating Yahweh with Satan. So that's just a really low-tier Gnostic misunderstanding. Disaster Chief, $5. My brother is turbo normie. If it's not peer-reviewed or on mainstream media, it is not real. They were spurging out, and they were arguing about you in the Destiny subreddit after the erudite debate. They realized that you were more relevant than originally thought. Well, if your brother's on the Destiny Reddit, I feel sorry for you, man. We just pray for these people is the only thing to do. Jasper Daddy Falcor, $5. Check out Bohemian Grove, the Top Lobster is doing in Florida. Yes. Well, they invited me, and I like Top Lobster. We love Sam Tripoli, but I'm not going to an event where there's Owen Benjamin. So, Death Culture, $50. Can you do a Duke Nukem impression? I don't know. I remember playing that game. I think we used to play that game fourth period after lunch in high school. Somebody put it on the computer. I don't know what he sounds like. theme song? What does he sound like? Is it a noticeable voice? Duke Nukem one-liners.
I'm Duke Nukem, and I'm coming to get the rest of you alien bastards.
It sounds kind of like Weck. Weck would probably do. Is this him, John St. John?
Chronic wants to know what was my all-time favorite Duke Nukem line. It's from the Duke Nukem Forever game, and it goes a little something like this.
I had eggs for breakfast. Your mom had sausage. I don't know. That's my first try. I've never done that before. Jam, $5. What is the word salad? You're using really generic philosophical terms that could mean different things in different philosophers' systems. So I have no idea what you mean when you say we have to preserve reality through to find the truth. No idea what that means. Eric Vigilant, $5. Jay, somebody mentioned your debate with Nick. He said you won even though it converted them to Catholicism. That doesn't make any sense. So he admits that I won the debate, but it also converted him to Catholicism. That sounds like it's not very good reasoning to be a Catholic. Well, I lost the debate. The arguments were better on the other side, but I still chose Catholicism. I don't understand that. Unless I'm misunderstanding what your tweet means, your super chat. Charlie Kirk Smile. I get your point about the classical music, but you got to understand the general population is slow. Dude, that's my point. You're never going to get the general population to understand anything to do with metaphysics and epistemology. The best you can hope for is a debate like this where people see ethical contradictions.
Not homosexual. No,
You said that you were bisexual. You said that you were bisexual. That's homosexual. There's certain ways. There's certain ways that people conduct themselves.
People like you and Jay Dyer bully.
Again, where's the evidence of bullying? What's he even talking about? So this is the fourth time he's played the victim of being bullied, and no idea what's he even talking about. It's just total bullshit. Just immediately comes on and says he's bullied by me. Bullied? What are you talking about? You got booted after 5 minutes of philosophical nonsense. Nobody even knew who you were or that you were gay.
LGBTQ. That's why it was tried, because of the kind of stigmas that you promote.
So here's the thing that's so funny about this is like, if both me and Jay Dyer, both of us assumed that you were a homosexual, and both of us were right. That's what's so funny about it. We both assumed you were gay, and we were both correct.
Andrew, is there anything wrong with him being gay? Is there anything wrong with him being gay?
There's a problem with you guys supporting NGO-funded kind of AstroTurf program to promote rights, which aren't even about promoting rights.
Was that a response to what I just said?
The whole ordeal here is, well, what's the prompt, Parker? The prompt is about pride. And so you're supporting an AstroTurfed, completely AstroTurf NGO-funded thing. It has nothing to do with gay rights at all. And people don't like it, Parker. They don't like it, Parker.
Well, Parker, I would ask Parker this. Look, Andrew, you said some things which I completely disagree with about this issue. You said women...
David Harris, $5. Jay, I was arguing tag with a gay theist. They said Colossians 2. Human philosophy shouldn't be... Paul is talking about worldly philosophy, not all philosophy. In fact, the Bible utilizes philosophical ideas and terms all the time. John uses the word logos in John 1, and logos in John 1 is referring back to the wisdom texts of Scripture, like Proverbs, etc., and those are philosophical texts. So this is a misunderstanding of Paul talking about worldly, vain philosophy, not all philosophy. Justin Martyr is Saint Justin the philosopher. Jam, if Galileo never looked through a telescope, will we be closer or further away from understanding God's infinite wisdom? I don't think that Galileo looking through a telescope has anything to do with revealed theology, which is an apostolic deposit complete with the death of the last apostle. So there is nothing, theologically speaking, that Galileo could add to the apostolic deposit by looking through a telescope.
Never truly understand why men find homosexuality so depraved. We don't think there's a problem there. We know there's a problem there. I'm a man. I don't find homosexuality remotely depraved. I think people's sexuality is what it is. So,
well, to critique Piers here, you claim to be a Christian, but Christianity in all of its branches classically, traditionally, does say that homosexuality is a vice and it is a depraved action. So That's Piers being inconsistent and committing the idolatry, really, of worshiping the liberal God of tolerance and equality over the person of Christ who says that you can't be gay. You got to not be gay.
I don't agree with you with some of the statements you've made. However, Parker, I am increasingly bemused why, when there are so many important things in the world to worry about, we devote a whole month to gay pride. Why do we?
Austin, $10. Are you sure that it is a lagging stream internet issue? It has been at some point. It may not be the only issue. So another problem could be multiple issues. I know last night your stream was lagging, but it keeps steady audio. Thus, it could be a PC hardware issue. It might be your GPU or your OBS settings. I'm aware of that. So the problem is that you'll notice right now it says excellent connection, right? And at times, I've had the issue of the internet itself literally dropping to zero. So this was an issue at both houses consistently. And it took at least 10 different times to get the technicians to fix that. So it got better, but it still may be that issue. And it still also might be a hardware issue as well. I'm aware of OBS settings. I've tinkered and tested and tried various bit rates, various frames per second within OBS. That has never seemed to fix the issue. I don't know what to do, honestly. I've never been able to fix the issue. And it happens at both houses. Now, I will get a new Mac soon, so maybe that will help. But the problem is that, like, it was always an issue. Even when this was a new Mac, it was an issue. So we'll see.
There are plenty of things that we specifically have months for to celebrate that I think are incredibly important. And this specific example is incredibly important because of the dehumanization and the bigotry espoused specifically by people like Jay Dyer and Andrew Wilson.
So you notice that all they had was to just say you're a bigot. None of this is an argument. And he's just saying the corporations are helping the gays because they're fighting bigotry. Like, imagine believing that. Even if this was the case, none of this is an argument as to why. And I'm just going to go straight for the issue and be just like, well, why is bigotry wrong?
Explicitly kicking people off of their panels because they're gay, right? Or because they're homosexual.
Again, nobody has any proof that I did this. Where is the evidence or proof that I kicked Danny off of the panel or out of Discord for being gay? This is just made up. Pure bullshit.
Sexual, which I think is incredibly ridiculous.
But you know,
right?
as well as I do, Parker,
can I please finish?
If you compare it, look, well, hang on, I'll say, if you go back 35, 40 years, I would completely agree with you. But the idea that that is still the case today, I just don't feel it. Do you? I mean, certainly young people in particular do not. It's just moved on.
Respectfully, how would you know as a straight person? Do you experience it?
Why are you assuming my sex?
If you're not gay, you just can't speak to it. How dare you? Jordan, $5. Piers Morgan pretends to be PC talking about bundles of sticks, and then he laughs at the gaytheist joke. Well, yeah, because it was funny.
I want to talk about, Piers, I want to talk about my experience. When I went viral, Piers, when I went viral, right, I had people message, calling me the F slur, saying I had a gay lisp, right, when I'm married to a woman, right? If I'm not even a homosexual.
It's not the Wi-Fi. I've used Ethernet cable. None of that matters. I guess I could try that. I don't like PCs.
And if people are bullying me for that, I can't imagine what.
No, nobody has bullied him for this. This is all made up. So just like Skittles false flags that they like to do, you know that Skittles have done this, right? Many times they've faked the fake flags against them. Just like this situation right here. He's claiming that he's been booted off of panels and out of the Discord because he was Skittles. That's totally made up. So that they're liars.
Actual homosexuals have to go through. So,
if you don't mind me asking, given it's now been sort of raised, and I'm not quite sure, are you straight? Are you bisexual?
I'm bisexual. I've been married to a woman happily for 5 years, and we're monogamous.
Two gaytheists. I want to chime in. We have two gaytheists on the panel that have said that I bullied them.
Like this kind of behavior. Look at this behavior.
It's called a joke, sensitive man.
So funny, Jay Dyer.
Oh my God! Look at this behavior.
You are two gaytheists.
That's too much.
That's hurting my feelings. Charlie Kirksmile, $5. Yeah, I get your point. You destroyed them. It got technical after that. Slow boys get lost. You cooked them. Cool Barracuda, $10. Because we're talking about Skittles, what's a good book on information for a lesbian specifically? I don't know anything about books for lesbians. What do you mean? My lady friend can go to L from 99% to 1% to 100% liking women. So you're saying you have a friend that fluctuates? I don't know about any books for lesbians. I wish I could had an answer. I don't know. Willie Mac Jogger, $5. I debated an atheist at work who argued his account for the value of human life was the way that was to look at insurance companies. Imagine, this is what we're dealing with. People that think that, how do you come up with value for a human life? It's the quote that I get from Allstate. Oh man. No, I know Parker. I've never talked to Parker. He's trying to white knight for his butt buddy over there about supposedly getting booted from panels and from Discord because he was gay. It's all made up. You can hear the debate that we had. Nobody even knew he was gay. Nobody knew anything about it. And the topic wasn't anything to do with gay. It was about epistemology. And he got booted, so he created a lie that he got booted because he was gay. It's just total nonsense. EA, $5. Windows will have a solid CPU and GPU. It will help you out. We know you got fuck you money. I don't have fuck you money yet. When Bitcoin goes up a little more, I will have fuck you money. We are still at upper middle class, so I'm not technically a rich man. But in a few years, Bitcoin will allow me to be at fuck you money status. And then we can do fun things. My brother streams, he says that the answer is to lower the bit rate. Now, I have done that before, but I've not tried that since getting the new camera. So maybe I need to match the bit rate to this new camera. Maybe there's a discrepancy there. So that might be something to try for sure. Do H2 and O choose to bond, or are we measuring a reaction and naming it water and mistaking that for truth? Jam, $5. H2O, hydrogen and oxygen are not sentient, so they don't choose anything. Only a sentient being with volition and will and reasoning can choose. So I don't know what you're talking about, mistaking that for truth. I think that you sound pretty stoned, honestly. I'm not being mean to you, but I'm saying you sound like a stoned person who thinks that the questions that are being asked are really deep, and they're just kind of like word concept fallacies. Like, there's different types of truth. So I don't know what you mean when you say, are we mistaking a scientific fact for truth? I have no idea what you're talking about. Debate cop, 10 pounds. Wait a minute. Parker asked Piers if he knows about the struggles of a non-Skittles person. How does Parker know if he's a non-Skittles person? Well, he later admits that he would date trans men or trans, so he also is. Cool Barracuda, $10. I got a Bible for her for Christmas. Never pulled it for me, but for random Lutheran lesbians. She was liking Christianity, but now she doesn't and gets annoyed. Well, it's probably not going to be any book that you give her, because the problem is just addiction devices. It's not a problem of facts or knowledge. Jam sends $2. I am done for now.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Are you guys Christians? I thought we're supposed to be loving to thy neighbor.
Well,
the only
love
thing
also includes telling you when it's wrong.
Don't
so.
you love trans people, Parker? You said that you would date a trans person. Remember that? Or
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
Well, I try to point out there that love has boundaries, right? Love is not encouraging people to do anything and everything that they want. Love would tell a person who's addicted to heroin, hey, get some help. Let's get you in some kind of recovery or something, right? Hey, you need to stop drinking a case of Natty Light every day. You're going to kill yourself. Love does not just accept and encourage anything. This is so stupid.
I think that
What's wrong with that?
I guess you are more loving than me than Parker. I wouldn't date a trans person. But,
Okay,
hey,
okay,
he's
is that
right.
supposed to be like
See, this is why Andrew brings this up, to point out that basically Parker pretty much is gay, right? Even though he's saying, well, I'm not technically gay. Anyway, then it gets into corporations and TV shows pushing Skittles for children. I say, when are we going to have Necro Month? I don't know if they cut that or not. So let's go over here. And then it ends up being a giant debate between Parker and Piers on this topic.
When I go outside, I live in Los Angeles. I don't see rainbow flags everywhere, so I'm confused what you're talking
In Los
about. You walk down the
Angeles,
street and just,
you must be joking, but you can barely move in Los
I live in Los
Angeles. I've got a,
Yeah, what? I live in LA and I don't see pride flags everywhere. What? Come on, dude. So this is where they just start going downhill. Like, it's going to get worse and worse for these guys after this point.
it's in Beverly Hills. You might as well put a pride flag over the whole place.
I'm sorry. I've been to the areas. Not pride flags aren't everywhere. And one, you live in Beverly Hills,
What's he
right?
talking
That's
about?
specifically like not even right next to downtown. So that's where most of the rainbow flags would be if you've
But
actually been to LA recently.
here's my serious point to you. If you actually want to do something constructive for, say, the trans community, for example, wandering around with LGBTQ plus, and no one can ever remember now how many letters and digits there are on these. It just
You just said it.
It gets but it gets bigger and bigger, and I've seen one with 2 in it and all sorts of stuff, a 2-spirit, whatever. It's all.
All it is IA plus.
Yeah, I know, but then
That's
there's
it.
2 and everything. It gets ridiculous, right? And this is the problem with these things. It's never ending. It's like there were 2 genders, then there were 10, then there were 80, then there were 100. All of it's nonsense to me. However,
wasn't like this,
however,
then that,
if you
but-
want to think that, it's a free world. Here's my point. If you actually want to make a constructive difference to, say, the trans community and trans rights and protect trans people, then the absolute worst way to go about that is the way that the trans lobby has tried to do it, by eroding women's rights in things like women's sport. That has exposed so many trans people to mockery, abuse.
This is the thing Pierce loves to debate. Pierce loves this trans debate. Jam says for $2. Jay, we are the sentients. Well, sentience is a quality that humans possess, having the reasoning faculty. It's being alive. And so humans have sentience in a sense and in a way that animals and plants do not have. Even though they're alive, they're not sentient. Animals, I guess, are in a sense, they're sentient, but they're not conscious, willing beings in the sense of having free will. Animals act on instinct, and they do not have free will. Animals are not made in the image of God. Humans are. So, again, when you say we are sentients, it just sounds like just new age gibberish. Debate cop, 10 pounds. Wait a minute. No, we read that.
And the rest of it. And I would say, rather than spending all this time and effort and money on flags in Pride Month, what about just actually getting people together to understand that eroding women's rights is the worst possible thing to promote trans rights? Would you accept that?
Okay, so then if we were going to be talking about eroding women's rights, we'd have to talk about people that, someone like Andrew Wilson supports, like Donald Trump, who was held civilly liable of sexually abusing a woman, who bragged about
Well, hang on.
I promise you I'm making a point relative to this.
So, like, these guys, all they know how to do is to just gibber and chatter with PC speak and Orange Man bad, Smoking Man bad, J Dyer bad, J Dyer mean, bullying. Like, that's all it is just spitting out the words of social justice dumb, and that's it. It's not even an argument. It's not even a coherent thought in any of this. And let's see, somebody says, super chat says, do your Jordan Peterson saying Arabic terms in his native tongue. Okay, this is an interesting challenge here.
Algebra surf, it's like all directions, that's what al-samut means. Shamat, Sufi, Sharab, well, fuck.
I don't know, that was a weird one because I wasn't used to saying.
Depends on what you mean,
And then to try to say Arabic terms. G26 $2. Piers has been to a naughty under an evil person party, he says. That's the super chat. I'm not saying that. Jordan of Lofgren $5. Even if he was booted because of being Skittles, in his worldview, there's nothing wrong with being a bigot and booting him. That's what I said. Why is bigotry wrong on your worldview? And he says, because it hurts feelings. And then he's like, don't care if we hurt anyone else's feelings. It's just like,
He bragged
Smoky
about
Man
walking
bad. Smoky Man bad. Smoky Man bad.
You're very childish. He bragged about
All
walking.
you get's on me. You can't even answer to his question, dude. He's just.
I'm
but
promising
Andrew
I'm
Wilson
answering right now.
bad.
You're coming off.
But Smoky Man bad.
no, that's all they did was say, Jay bullies, Andrew's mean, bullying, cutting me off, bullying, mean. That's all they've said so far in 30 minutes, 25 minutes.
I'm trying to right now. Respectfully, I'm trying to answer it right now, but you're not allowing me to.
Okay, well, answer without distracting into Trump and stuff. Just answer the question.
Well, I'm giving an explanation, right? So he bragged about walking into the changing rooms of girls in Miss Teen USA because he quote unquote owns the place to inspect them. Without
forget Trump. Forget Trump.
I promise you, I'm making a point here. Would you like?
You have to get to the point a bit quicker. Come on.
I promise you, I had 15 seconds. Okay, so specifically, right? People like Andrew Wilson do not call that type of stuff out when
Trump bad, Andrew bad, Jay bad, like 25 minutes, and that's all we've heard.
Towards women's
you're playing whataboutery. I'm not interested in whataboutery.
Even Piers knew this with tu quoque, right? So Piers didn't even want to use tu quoque. That's too highbrow for the audience. He says whataboutism. That's tu quoque.
Somebody like me, Parker, talk to me, right? As somebody who has always supported.
I was going to refer to trans
someone
people,
who's always supported trans rights, trans people's rights.
Disingenuous.
Well, I have always supported trans people's rights to fairness, equality, and safety, right to the point that it began to erode into women's.
So again, all of this right speak, as I've critiqued for over 10 years, just go right to the heart of it and ask them, what is a right? Where do you get rights from? What's your justification for rights in this crazy, wacky atheist worldview? And what's funny is that they pretty much end up just saying utilitarianism or whatever the state decrees is the right. So the state can then remove the rights if we decree that your vices are actually crimes. And that's why they care about politics so much. The left only cares about politics to have their vices. That's ultimately what this ends up being, at least most of the time. I mean, yeah, sometimes there's an academically committed leftist who has some sort of sophisticated intellectual reason, supposedly why they're leftist or whatever. But generally speaking, this just amounts to, I want pee-pee poo-poo and I don't to be a crime. And it used to be a crime. So pee-pee poo-poo is my identity. That way you can't make it a crime or illegal anymore because it's my identity, and then you're oppressing me if you make it illegal. And guess what? The same thing will happen when we get Negro rights, zombie rights, and CP rights.
Rights to the same thing. And that's my point to you. Why waste all this time, effort, and money on virtue signaling for Pride Month when in fact there's a real...
All right, so this I'm going to skip a little ahead. This is just it ends up being that they start to collapse because it turns into you can't hurt my fifis.
There's no way to distinguish these things. It's like, look, the average normal person, they can.
I tried to argue, I think in the middle of this, about the good, and I'm just going to skip that part because it doesn't even like everyone's head here. I'm like, they want to talk about what's in society. Like this has come up like 10 times in this discussion, and I'm like, okay, tell me what the good is. And the two gaytheists just short circuit when I ask them what the good is.
Hell, that these guys who go out and go, hey, how you doing? My name is Chuck, with long hair, are clearly not women, Parker. Like
that are not accepted in these communities. That's the point of pride in these conditions, right? Just because it is the case that issues have existed to a greater extent in the past doesn't mean that we don't have an issue to address today, right? In terms of pride, right? Like addressing that we should have acceptance of gay people. We should have acceptance of people in LGBTQ+.
This guy's machine gun diarrhea vomiting out of his mouth all of the social justice buzzwords again. Like their arguments are just propaganda, like mouth diarrhea of buzzwords. That's what they think an argument is. I like this guy in the chat says, I like Jay, but have you ever wondered that he doesn't talk about the occult symbolism of MAGA? It's because I'm covering it up. It's because Donald Trump paid me 1 zillion Putin coins to cover up that the word MAGA is a secret Hindu occult. This guy literally says it's a Hindu terminologies. Dude, just leave, man. This is too stupid for me to even. These people are like these schizo people in the chat, man. They're just too much.
U+ community. So
yeah, isn't it counterintuitive though, Parker, to say?
I'd like to add one
thing. Clearly, it's backfiring. Like it's just counterintuitive.
We're not saying you need to support like
said. What Parker said specifically here was, well, wait a second. If you're a Christian, you should be all about this. And it's like, no, not really. And you haven't really demonstrated how. Why, Parker? Why is his support homosexuality as Christians, Parker? Tell us why.
Well, I was saying that you should be loving of thy neighbor as you're referencing specifically people, right? Human beings, right? If you're referencing
why does that mean we have to support homosexuality?
Love has boundaries, right? And then we get into the R word. This was a fun part.
Joe Rogan. I'm going to start with you, Jay, on this. This is Joe Rogan talking about the R word.
It's one of these retarded shows where they're screaming. There's the word again. We brought it. Yeah. We were just talking about that.
You did it early.
The word retarded is back. And it's one of the great culture victories that I think is spurred on probably by podcasts.
Now, Jay, is it a great moment, a great cultural victory that the R word is back, which obviously is short for it's retarded, it's mentally retarded, or mentally impaired. It was used in a derogatory way against people who are mentally impaired. Why would that be a cultural victory to bring that back?
Well, I'm a big fan of the R word because I myself act retarded all the time and I'm proud of it. In fact, I would actually probably get retarded tattooed across my back because I think it is a cultural victory. I love to be able to say what's on my mind.
Look at his feigned outrage. He's like, it's so fake, dude. Like, you notice when Piers said it, and Piers didn't want to say it, then the gaytheist guy with his fake outrage, all of the soy memes that I've been doing for like 5 years, infinity soy memes, they're all summed up in one right here. Jordan of Lofgren, $5. Can you explain why each of them will always say, right, right, right? Destiny, Parker, Erudite, it's probably just a tick that they all got from Destiny, their god. Jam, what surface were Plato's shadows cast upon? How do you assign certainty to what's beyond the cave when you haven't mapped what's inside? I concede, you've got me. Jam has all of the mystical answers to all mysticism in the world. He says for $2, the infinite wisdom of God is our finite reality. There you go, man. Just when we adopt contradictions and say that infinity is finite, that's the only way to have mystical ganja insights. Dan Campbell's Fortitude, $12 or $20. Great work. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. This was definitely one of the funnest debates, even if it was not a real debate. It was definitely fun.
I think, these guys are retarded as an example. So we have.
Did you see Pierce's head drop when I said that? I'm sorry, am I supposed to be taking this seriously? I don't understand. It's like, this is today's Jerry Springer, and I'm proud of it. I'm happy to be on Piers Morgan's show. It's great. So we had the R word debate, and at a certain point, the debate becomes, I just said, can we substitute retort? Because in The Hangover, it's either The Hangover or the one with Robert Downey Jr. Zach Galifianakis says retard. Excuse me, I'm a retard? Is he a retard? That may be scrubbed from the movie. No, I don't know. And I asked them, I was like, can you say that? And they're like, no, you can't say retard. And I'm like, well, can you say, so all substitutions are also bad? They're like, yes. So I was like, can I substitute moron for retard? And they're like, no. So now you can't say retard, you can't say moron, you can't say retort, you can't say the R word, because now all substitutions are also banned. And then we ended up asking them, what's the standard for it? And they're like, I am. And I'm like, well, that's subjective. And they go, is God a subject? Then it's subjective. It's that stupid. And I'm like, that's a category error, you idiot. So that's the rest of this debate. Anyway. It was pure comedy, and it was fun. I actually had a fun time with this one, and I'm thinking this one might break 1 million. It's got a good chance at it. We're already almost 300,000 in a few hours. Where are we at? This one's got some legs. We might hit 1 million with this. We'll see. But yeah, this was an atheist clown show that ended up being. It was almost all rhetoric. I was just like, yeah, we got retards on the panel. What do you mean? We got gaytheist retards on the panel. What are you talking about?